You're watching Road to CNBC Indonesia Awards Best Digital Ecosystems. On prior segment, we've seen an insightful presentation from Uptime Institute highlighting the crucial role of global standards in ensuring the resilience and sustainability of data centers. As we know, data centers have become the backbone of digital economy, powering everything from cloud computing to artificial intelligence. But behind their growth lies a key question. How can Indonesia's data center industry continue to meet these global standards while pursuing greener and more efficient operations? And to explore this issue, we're joined by Mr. Laurensius Susanto Then, Sales Director Indonesia for Uptime Institute, to discuss how resilience, reliability, and sustainability can go hand in hand in shaping Indonesia's future digital infrastructure. Mr. Lauren, thank you so much for joining us in CNBC Indonesia. First of all, I would want to say wonderful presentation from Uptime Institute. So let's get to know more about your company. Uptime Institute is globally recognized as a benchmark for data center reliability and also resilience standard. So my basic question would be, how do you see the position and contributions of your company in the Indonesian market today for data centers?
All right, so thank you for having me. Well, Uptime been really contributing a lot, right? In not really invisible way in the past, but I think with the growth of digital economy, the growth of prominent IT industries happening in the news is just getting more prominent. And nowadays, even everybody folk can really open the news, read in newspaper, it say that certain company going to build a tier 3 data center, certain company going to build a tier 4 data center. So those terms is actually created and invented by Uptime. And that have become an everyday term in use by everybody, right? So the way I look at it as well, for Indonesia, we will still continue to contribute and will even play even bigger role. So in the past, I think probably it was just a colo players, operators that really delve into that. But now everybody, even the government, enterprise, even we had education look into it as well, right? The certification really play a key role in a way that once your data center is certified, everybody know you have reached that resiliency, right? Once you have that resiliency, investors, customers, they will have more faith, right, to put your application inside, to actually engage you, right? And in Indonesia alone, I kind of reckon that we have more than about half of our certification was awarded for the past like 3 years. That really bring Indonesia to the higher standard around the region, right? So that alone really bring up a lot more confidence in investors to come in, right? That's number one. Number two, we're also really seeing that the big population of Indonesia become a key market for those investors, right? So that really attract more investment coming in, more data center being built, more operation coming in, and we just really have to defend that situation, how we can really try to tap those investors keep coming in instead of going out to our neighboring.
How long have you been operated in Indonesia?
In Indonesia, about 12 years now.
12 years?
Yes.
So can you tell us a story about your journey 12 years ago when you were first penetrating the markets of Indonesia's data center? Back then, 12 years ago, was not too flourishing, right? Like nowadays. So tell us about the journey.
So I would say that 12 years ago, most people wouldn't even know that the whole application banking system kind of residing in data centers.
Yeah.
So Uptime obviously only known to very few data center operators, right? So 12 years ago was kind of really unique. We didn't have any physical presence in Indonesia. So it was actually approached, our HQ was a kind of basic approach by one of the largest data center operators, right? Which still exists today and really prominent, right? So I will just say the name, DCI was one of them. And also basically the Telkom Sigma, right? So those were the very first players that wanted to go global, right? And really wanted to prepare them and attract investors coming in. Right, and one way to prove that is by having a global standard actually certifying them, right? So that's where the very first Uptime actually came about in Indonesia. So Uptime has been really well known in US, kind of developed in Europe, right? But for Indonesia, that was one of the turning point, right?
Since 12 years ago, what trends have you observed in the recent years, especially the past 5 years? And to date, how many data centers in Indonesia have obtained certification from your company?
Okay. I kind of reckon for the past 2 years, 1 year, I will say.
1 year.
1 year, right? The big news, everybody talk about AI.
So just a short
everybody
flashback
just
to 1 year.
AI,
Okay.
right? It's just AI, right? But the thing is, AI is not something new. It's been developed, it's been there for many, many years, but only lately that it's really put into more daily activities, right? And a lot of investors betting in on that, right? So we are really looking into AI. But before AI, we are seeing a lot of cloud, right? So don't get mistaken that a lot of growth is actually happening in AI as what people perceive, but majority of the growth we're having now in Indonesia is still cloud, right? It's still cloud system, right? So this cloud system,
Not AI.
AI, yes, they have been a talk about it. There are applications coming in, right? But in terms of percentages of growth, it's actually still cloud.
Still majority the cloud computing.
It's still cloud system, right? So we're still having both of them. Now the question why AI is such a big news is simply because it's a new technology, right? And the way the technology been developed and being put into actual application, it's just really mind-boggling, right? So in the past, we're kind of talking about like 7 kilowatt of heat load per rack. Now we're talking about 130 kilowatt, right, which already in place, right? There is like, what, 200% of growth, right? And more than that, right? And beyond that as well, like HP just developed one system that can actually accommodate up to 400 kilowatt per rack. It's just really never ending. So from the infrastructure point of view, there's a major challenge, how to overcome that kind of heat load, but that also become a talking point. That's number one. Number two, the huge investment that really the government coming in from the US, from the Middle East, from Indonesia as well, into AI really bring up the hype on that, right? So I will say that AI major growth, cloud, they're still the major factors. So having said that, again, infrastructures, how resilient they are into providing different kind of IT load are really crucial.
Now that you mentioned about the keyword resilience, and then you also mentioned several times about resiliencies and its importance in data centers in Indonesia when you had a presentation just on the previous segment. So tell us more about what is the urgency of resiliency in building data centers in Indonesia? Yeah,
it's ever more critical. It's going to even more critical.
And what does that mean, resilience for data centers, sir?
Okay, resilient means your data centers need to be able to withstand any kind of fault.
Any kind of fault?
Any kind of fault, possible fault we can think of, right?
What was that? What sort of options of fault?
Yeah, power failures, fire threat, operational issues, right? So at this moment, there's so many things that can go wrong inside the data centers because those machines, right? The power machine, the cooling machine, right? The IT service, right? The fire system, the control system. There's like 1,001 system packed into a single building. Anything can go wrong, right? Although those machines are designed to really operate for a long period, but they're still man-made, they're still electronics, things still can go wrong. So to avoid that, how the data center architecture is designed makes the whole different. We need to have main system, redundant system, even probably a catcher system. And every consultant, every customer can design whatever they wanted. But the resiliency is really on the performance output base. Right? So that's why uptime do not dictate how the data center is designed. Uptime actually dictate how the performance output, all right, of that particular design.
From their output.
Correct. So the beauty thing of this framework of tiering classification that Uptime got, although it was developed for 30 years ago, from 30 years ago, it will still valid for another 30 years because it's based on output performance, right? So whenever we have a new technologies being deployed, it doesn't matter. We can accept that, right? Because the architecture that matters, right? So, but having said that, coming to the point that our dependency on technologies is ever higher, right? I think in the past, 2 years ago, people wouldn't be using ChatGPT. Now, people will be just using ChatGPT just to reply email, right? And suddenly, if the ChatGPT doesn't work, like, what is going to collapse, right? Well, probably not that drastic, but that's just really how important it is.
Well, thank you so much for joining us in CNBC Indonesia, Mr. Laurensius Susanto Then, Sales Director Indonesia for Uptime Institute. Wishing you the best of success for Uptime Institute and wishing you the best of health. And thank you so much for sharing us your precious insights with us today. Thank you. Thank you so much.